Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. You know what I'm about to say for I don't know how many times so far, if you are on this webpage, that I am excited to be here with another amazing professional on this platform. I'm telling you, 2018 is by far the best. It's the best season overall. Let me just tell you, I'm just so excited and grateful and honored to meet so many of these amazing people that is out there doing amazing things, and we didn't even know that they were doing it. So now we're here to know about them. And just in case you didn't know what this whole platform is about, the BMWOC podcast is to share our industry information and to encourage you, the working professional, to look at the different lines of industries that are going on and know what the changes are, what the trends, and where you stand out there when it comes to your business or your career. So make sure that you visit all the pages. Make sure you check out the bios, contact those folks that are in the BMWOC community. It is growing every day. And also take that time to really listen to all of the podcasts out there, not just the ones in your industry, but check out what other people are doing. You never know. There might be something there that someone has something that you need. So definitely do that. Before we get into our interview today, we would like to thank our corporate sponsors, which are Cat Sereno LLC, Cheryl Wood Empowers, Concern and Learning, Evangelism Radio, Genesis Preferred Solutions, J Coach International, Nels Tax Help, My Financial Home, Power, STCI, and the Student Teacher, along with our other business partners and sponsors, and everyone who is supporting this event. So today I have a young lady here. Her name is Monique Hogan, and she is a 17-year seasoned professional banking industry where her career progressed from an executive assistant to a loan officer in the commercial real estate space. During her career, she was also called upon to plan the corporate functions from executive meetings, fundraisers, to holiday parties, and she also excelled with each event as she went along. And after completing her MBA, Monique began to fully pursue her two passions, which is event planning and entrepreneurship. And now she is the owner and principal planner of Monique Hogan Weddings and Events, chief fund organizer of Star Party, and she also creates parties for principal event manager for Hogan Events. And so I want you to continue looking at her bio and everything and just really checking out all the accolades that she has going on. So in the meantime, welcome, Monique, to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you having this platform to help me talk about my business and my passions, which is event planning.
Yes, yes, yes. And, I like to do events, so we're going to have fun. Okay, because I
Yes.
want to know more. I'm going to pick your brain in this one. So let's just start by just talking about, where you're from and how did you get into event planning through your education or past experience?
Well, it's a little bit of both. So just to begin, I am a native of Los Angeles, California, which there's, believe it or not a lot of natives my age. Usually people are coming from other places. So I am a native of LA. But how I got started, I was always planning events. Even as a child, I was planning events. I planned birthday parties for friends. I planned weddings for Barbie and Ken. So it's always been a passion of mine to plan events. So when I started working at the bank and they started asking me to do certain events and I was making invitations and catering and I do everything. I decided, you know what, I am going to make this my career. So I went to school to get an education in professional meeting planning and event planning. So while I was working at the bank, I was also going to school and got my MBA and also got a certificate in professional meeting and event planning. And it just took off from there.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's start with the first profession because people who have chosen to listen to your podcast is really going to get into about being an assistant loan officer. I think this is the first time that we've had a loan officer on the platform. So I would really love to talk about your experience on why you pursued that avenue in the beginning and how impactful has it been for you in terms of your career.
Well, when I started as an assistant loan officer, I like to say I just fell into it because I started as an executive assistant. And as you know, years ago, when there were a lot of foreclosures and that kind of thing, and a lot of bank mergers, I was just asked, "Hey, do you want to do this job right here?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And just got into being a loan officer for other real estate owned, and that's real estate that's going into foreclosure. So we had to do a lot of underwriting to help people. Our main goal was to help people keep their properties or keep their commercial real estate. And that took a lot of finagling, a lot of negotiating, but literally just fell into that position. And I stayed in that position for maybe about 5 years before I decided, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I really want to pursue event planning full time.
Okay. All right. Nice, nice. And so, can you provide maybe some best practices for anyone who want to get into being a loan officer? Maybe talk about the challenges and even doing the job or the expectations, good or bad, that someone can take from you from that experience.
Well, being a loan officer, one of the things that I would tell someone who is getting into that, usually it's somebody who's already working in banking, and you just have to learn the different rules and keep yourself educated because they are changing all of the time. Practices are changing all of the time. What's going on with the government will change whatever practices you have in place are going on. So it's just staying current and staying abreast of everything that's going on literally in the world because it changes all of the time. So anybody who wants to get into being a loan officer, I would recommend that, especially if you're already at the bank, just stay current on what's going on with FDIC, loan practices, everything, because it's constantly changing. And most importantly, grab yourself a mentor. The bank is filled with mentor, and all it is just about asking someone who's already doing the job. Believe it or not, people would be so happy to help, with someone who wants to do what they do.
Okay, so the point that you made as far as making sure that you stay abreast of everything because it's constantly changing. When it came down to your event planning and what you wanted to do, how were you able to manage the time between what you wanted to do for the event planning? Because I know it takes a lot of time and effort to do that. And then you're also trying to do your regular 9 to 5 for your loan officer position. So, how were you able to manage the time between the two to make the transition?
Well, luckily, I had a boss that gave me a lot of work to to do the event planning, like to do the event planning for the bank that I was working for. So I got a little bit of leeway that way. Now, when I started doing events that were not necessarily bank related, it's all about getting up early, taking care of what you have to do early before you get started, and then staying up late, taking care of business after work. So some of the things that I would do is I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, work on some tasks, and then go into work, do what I had to do on my lunch hour. I was making phone calls, I was taking client meetings, and then after work, I was back on the grind with planning a wedding or a birthday party or some type of event. So there were times when I was literally working maybe about 14 hours a day because I had my 9 to 5, but then I also had my business that I was trying to get started. And in the
Mhm.
beginning, it wasn't necessarily trying to start a business. In the beginning, it was just me planning events. And
Mm.
it wasn't until later on that I decided, you know what, I can make a business of this, and I can, afford to feed my family and that kind of
Mhm.
thing. So,
Okay. And then you sought out the certification. Now, a lot of times we don't hear about certifications from the Association of Bridal Consultants. We don't really talk about those things. So, what is really the criteria of what you had to go through to get a certification and to be a bridal consultant? Because the people who are listening, I want them to understand that there are certifications out there, and maybe you could talk a little bit about the criteria and what expectations that you had to meet just to get a certification in that.
I was in business for a little while before I even decided to get a certification. And I thought to myself, well, I'm already planning events. What more could I learn? But I was so surprised that when I sought out to get the certification, that there was a lot that it was a lot to learn, and I was quite surprised at that. So one of the things that is a criteria is you don't necessarily have to be in business or have ever had to plan an event, but it's certainly helpful if you do. You don't have to have a certain education level to get the to meet the criteria. But one of the things that you have to be is you have to be organized. If you are a disorganized person, it is really hard to be an event planner. And then you have to be dedicated and motivated, and you have to deal with so many different personalities because you are dealing with people who are passionate about having something go a certain way. So you have to be a people person. You have to be someone who understands people. And I think a lot of that helped when I was working in the bank because I'm dealing with customers all the time. So
Hmm.
customer service is very important when you are an event planner because it's a people focused type of position or type of career. So once I started getting into the classes and taking the certification, you have to know about different cultures. You have to know about, and let me just back up with that. Learning about other people's cultures that's not your own is so important because you start to learn about why people do what they do or um, why they have a certain type of practice in their ceremonies as opposed to because when you let's just say when you're a Christian and the most of the weddings you see are Christian weddings and then you go outside of that and you might see an Ethiopian wedding or a Muslim wedding or a Persian wedding, it's very eye opening. So just to go back on the criterias,
Hmm.
I would just say be open minded because
Yes.
there's no specific education you have to have prior to taking the certification, but you definitely have to be open minded because you are dealing with so many different people, so many different cultures, so many different practices, and it can be overwhelming, but then it can be eye opening and very interesting.
Right.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things I want to add to that is that in addition to just being cognizant of the different cultures is that the attitude that you display when you're dealing with customers with different cultures. I know that I deal with
Mhm.
so many people with different cultures and backgrounds. And if they even sense that I am feeling offensive, or maybe they're feeling offensive, trying to communicate with them, it can really damage your business because you never
Mhm.
know who the next client is going to be. So coming from somebody who do events, just like you said, I totally agree. Most people don't have to have like a college background or anything like that, but you do have to have some sort of, professionalism as far as your knowledge or expertise. And if there is a certification, it is a good idea to get one in the area that you're doing. But just dealing with the different people and their behaviors and their cultures and their language and all that kind of stuff. If you're not open to be receptive to that, you're not going to be in business very much longer. People will sense that and you will be out of business very quickly.
That is so very true.
And people will not recommend you to do their events. It would be very difficult to get referrals because I'm pretty sure you agree that a lot of your referrals come from word of mouth just by having
Yes.
a really great event.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely for sure. So now that you're doing all this great stuff, now are weddings are the only thing that you're doing, or are you doing any kind of events, like birthday parties, nighttime parties, the
Let me
old
tell
school
you.
parties.
Let me tell you, I do so much. I wear so many hats, and I love it. That's why I have a couple of events. One of them is Star Party with the Creative Children's Party, and I didn't start doing kids parties until my friends and I started having kids. When we started having kids, it shifted from doing weddings and receptions and anniversaries to now we're doing kids parties, right? So for me, I do the weddings, I do the corporate events, I do the social gigs, and I do the kids parties. But my favorite event is really not weddings. It's actually doing theme parties, because birthday parties or theme parties, people are so much more fun. They're so much more loose, not so uptight, and you can really have fun with it. You can really go crazy and bananas with it because it's a theme. And those are just so much more fun when it comes to decorating, when it comes to invitations, when it comes to dealing with people all together. Like, just say I'm going to throw out a party like a 70s party. Those are so much more fun than just your standard wedding because people are in character. So they're coming to this event already dressed up, already in character. Then you got the music going, and it's just so much more fun.
I want
If
to
I
come to
have
your
to,
party.
girl, if I have to put one over the other, it is definitely like a theme party. I love them.
Nice.
I get into them. I really do. It's
Wow.
sometimes it's hard for me to stay focused. You're the professional here,
Right, right.
because
I
I'll end
can't
up
even
on the
remember the
dance
last
floor.
time I've been in a cabaret. I'm gonna tell you, I haven't been in a cabaret or
Right.
any kind of theme park. What happened to the cabarets these days? There used to be tons of them around. Every time you look, somebody was having one. I want to kind of bring that back. The
You know
cabarets.
what? It's the cabarets, it's the Roaring Twenties parties
Mhm.
that's been happening lately. And now, even like before, when it used to be the 70s parties,
Mhm.
now it's the 80s parties,
Oh, the
right?
80s parties now.
So it's
Okay.
the 80s party where everybody is wearing their sweatshirt cut around the collar and it's hanging off. And then they're putting their hair in some type of going up and asymmetrical. I'm telling you, it's
Oh
just so.
yes. Yes, yes, yes. The asymmetric,
Yes,
man. We used to
yes.
go
The
hard
the
on the
graffiti
asymmetric.
on
The
the
boys.
wall. Oh
That's
my
right.
goodness.
Okay, so let me ask you another question because we're having fun now. Okay, so do you just do just the planning of the event, or do you provide like all of the amenities that go with it, the whole nonchalant decorating, the spoons, forks, plates, all that kind of stuff as well?
You know what? I do it all from A
Oh,
to Z. Now, what I used to do, like I said, I used to cater and everything. I do a lot of outsourcing, but I have my finger on every single thing. If I'm calling someone who's bringing the plates and the napkins and the forks, I'm walking around each table to make sure every napkin is clean. There's nothing worse than picking up a napkin and it already has somebody else's lipstick on it, right? So
whew,
I'm making
no,
sure that the napkins are clean. I'm making sure that the forks are clean. It's nothing worse than having like a little speck of food on something. So I'm walking around taking care of all of that, looking at the cups. I take a look at if I have 100 guests, I'm looking at 100 cups to make sure there's no
nice.
ring on it, no lipstick. So I
Hmm.
have my hands in everything. So when it comes to decor, I have a team that comes out and decorate for you. Whereas before, when I first got started, I was doing everything. So to set up for a party, it was just me and a couple of my friends, and it was taking us like 5, 6 hours just to decorate a simple event. But
Hmm.
now I have a team that works in different aspects of the event. So I have my decorators, I have my caterers, I have my people that, bust the tables and that kind of thing, where, like I said, I used to do everything. So I'll
Wow. Yeah,
come to
let's
a
talk about
wedding.
that for a minute
Yeah.
because I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of people out there that's trying this thing. And by you talking about how you started by yourself and you and your friends, and then now you have a whole team, I would say to make this a really, really interesting interview, let's talk about the worst case scenarios, what not to do. Because it's easy to know that you're supposed to decorate, but let's talk about what not to do.
Let me tell you, one of the things that you should not do is not give yourself enough time. Everything, when it comes to an event, everything takes longer than you think it's going to take. So if you're looking at something and you're saying, oh, this should take me about 30 minutes, I guarantee you give yourself an hour and a half. Because if you mess around and you have an 8 o'clock event and guests are arriving and you're still decorating, you have just shot yourself in the foot. You are never going to be hired again from anybody in that person's circle. So
Wow.
I would say the one thing that you should never do, always give yourself enough time. Always give yourself enough time. And another thing you should do, always have a runner. And a runner is somebody where you're there at the event and you say, oh, shoot, we need X, Y, and Z. Can you go over to this store and you get that? Can you go over here and get that? Because you're bound to forget something, or something, or you're bound to need something that you don't have. And if you don't have a runner, you can't leave. You're there. You're at
Mhm.
the event site and you're taking care of business. You need someone who can jump in their car and go
Mhm.
get what they need to get. So when I do an event, I always scope the area.
Mhm.
Like if I'm not familiar with the area, I find out where the Party City is. Where is the nearest grocery store? Where's the nearest fabric store? I have
Wow.
to find out where everything is, because if I need to get something, I need to know, okay, this is 2.1 miles away. And let me just say this, I am in LA. So 2.1 miles away might sound like that's a 10-minute drive to you, but I guarantee you that's 30 minutes, so
Right. By the time you drive there, park the car, get out the car, come back, drive again. Oh my goodness. And you know what? You gave some really, really great points about what you should do, what in terms of what not to do, because it does take a lot of time just to do one event, even if it's like a 2 hour event and you're only putting out
mhm.
like a few snacks and stuff. That takes 30 minutes, sometimes 30,
Mhm.
45 minutes just to go get your water, go do your snacks, put your plates and your forks out, even if it's just a few things and you have 20 people, it still takes time. And then you want to pass out, flyers. You want to get everything straight. So when they walk in, you're actually greeting them and you look very professional and very organized. And that is so wonderful. So let me ask you though, Monique, now you have all this stuff going on. You got the parties popping. You got all the stuff there. Okay. What activities or what major parties are you throwing right now that people should come and see or hang out and see your decor and see how you are laying things out during the summer months?
Well, let me just say now, what I am tearing my hair out about right now is I am opening a space called Event Suite. And what it is, it's a showroom, so you'll get to see on a regular basis my decorations and that kind of stuff. But not only do you get to see it, but you also get to rent those items. So if I put out a certain table and I say, hey, this will rent for XYZ. And you can stop in the showroom at any time to come and take a look. And not only am I having the showroom that will show the different event stylings that I have, but it's also a meeting space. So let's say you are an event planner, you are a photographer or something like that, and you need a meeting space to meet with your clients, because let's face it, a lot of us work from home and you have to meet someone in the hotel lobby or you have to meet somebody at a Starbucks and it's not quiet and it's busy and you got to find parking and that kind of stuff. So now I have this space where you can come in as an event professional and meet with your client. I'll accommodate that. And that space will also
Nice.
be a space where you could have a small event. Or if
Mm.
you want to set up your event styling for your clients to see, you can do that at my space as well. So it's called the Event Suite, and I'm
Mhm.
working on it now. I'm surprised you don't hear like a jackhammer and hammers going on right now because it's it's noisy where I am. But
No, I don't hear it at all, but I will ask you, are you going to come to the East Coast and put one over here, please? Can you put one down here? That's what I want to know.
let me tell you something. I'm trying to move that way. I am really, and I'm not kidding. I'm trying to get out there in the East Coast and open an event suite out that way because I want a place that's affordable for people. It's hard when you are an entrepreneur to find things that are affordable for you. And, when you're first starting off. So I'm looking to put one on the East Coast, the Midwest, and
Mhm.
of course, some more out here on the South Coast. So trust me,
Okay.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move to the last part of my questions as far as your event planning. And this is the entrepreneur part. A lot of us who are out there, and when I say us, I'm talking about those who are just starting out as a new entrepreneur doing event planning of any type. What would be your best practice in terms of running the business with your team, your staff, or expectations? It could be anything that you feel that is the most value that they should know in terms of how to properly run an event business, an event planning business, especially when they want to go to different states, like what you just said, want to have them in different states. But, what is that one thing that they must absolutely know how to do before they even think about doing that?
You know what? In addition to, like I mentioned before, being organized, always, always remain professional, even when you are dealing with a friend or a coworker or someone who was referred by a friend. Always remain professional, and I'm gonna tell you why. A lot of times when you're starting off as an entrepreneur, and this might seem like it's going way off into the left field, but when you're starting off as an entrepreneur, one of my biggest frustrations is people looking for a hookup. So you're trying to start and run this business, and then you have people who are looking to get either something for nothing or for a very little price. So when you're starting off as an entrepreneur, first of all, know your worth and stick to it. Otherwise, you'll drive yourself crazy because it's very hard when you're dealing with people and they know that you're new. So now they think, "Oh, okay, well you're new, so you really should be charging this." So I would tell anybody who is just starting off, know your worth, know what you're going to charge, always remain professional because people will take advantage if you are kind of teetering on what you're going to charge and what you're going to do for what you charge and that kind of thing. Because you can send them a list of things and they'll always try to add one, two, three, four items and not pay for it. So it's really important when you are a new business owner, especially event planner, to know your worth, know what you're going to charge, and
Mhm.
stick to your guns and just always remain professional.
Right, right. And it's so true with all the other businesses too. People think they could just get the hookup or something is free all the time. Yeah, we have stuff that are free. Somebody can give you a discount some of the time, but that is not always the case. And people need to remember that businesses are in business to do business and to make money. And they're there
Right.
to make sure that their business grow by hiring staff. That means creating jobs. And see, I think a lot of people lose that value. They say, "Oh, I'm in business. Yeah, I'm gonna give you this and I'm gonna hook you up." No, you're in business to make money so that you can
Mhm.
create jobs so people can pay their bills. And if people would just stop asking for the hookup and stop
Mm.
always like, "Oh, it's free." I had someone just the other day. I had put out a business opportunity. It was definitely investment. It was very minimum. And it was like, oh, I didn't know that there was an investment included. I'm like, hey, listen, people are not going to do all the work while you reap the benefits for free all the time. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, like you said, you have to name your price and stick to it, especially
Mhm.
if you are producing the value of that work. Okay, it's a lot of work to talking about what you're doing, just to even do the work you do all day, just to get up, try to contact people, track them down, trying to get the event space, trying to secure the lease so nobody else won't get that space,
Right.
trying to get with the people who's coordinating, making sure they have the funds and making sure they sign off. Then you're also looking at who's bringing the food, who's bringing the amenities, who's bringing this and who's bringing that, and they all have to come together and get it done before the event. That's a lot of work,
It's
and
a
they should.
lot. And I like to be done like an hour before the event. I like
Mhm.
everything already done, you know?
Right, right. Because you're looking at every single thing, Monique. You're looking at
Right.
everything. And so, yes, absolutely. Okay, so we can start fussing over here too, because that is just. I just think that entrepreneurship needs to be taken more seriously in terms of what we can provide as a service. And that's just
You're
any
right.
business. And I hear too often about the hookup, the free thing, or maybe we shouldn't charge that much because we are a small business. Just because we're a small business doesn't mean that we offer small services. It just
We
means that
we
we're small
oftentimes
and
do more. You know,
yeah.
we oftentimes do more.
Yes, yes. So, I'm getting all flustered on him, but I'm gonna get back into character, right?
Yeah, we getting on a different soapbox, but yeah.
Well, only because I am one that also create events, and so I kind of feel your pain. I feel the work that you do, so I kind of relate. Okay, and when you
Mhm.
made that comment, I want people to really hear that because it really affects us as a small business owner when someone comes and say, "Can you give me a 50% discount, or can you give me the hookup?" Because I know you. And it's just one of those things where we will never grow as a real business if we constantly
Mm-mm.
keep giving into that. And so I want people to say, you know what, this is my price, this is what I offer, and these are the reason why it's cost that way. And if you can't pay that, then you are not my customer. And accept that.
Exactly.
That you're not my customer this
Exactly.
time. And there's going to be somebody who's going to pay your value. And that's what
That's
I'm
right.
trying to stress about. So, okay, I'm back now. Okay. Alrighty. So, with everything that you said so far, I really totally agree. Is there any last, I would say, advice that you want to give to someone in either of the careers that you've done, that you want to leave them with, before you go and give them your contact information and anything that you want to share here? We will also share on your speaker page so that they can reach out to you.
Well, I think one of the last things I want to leave people with, as far as the event planning is concerned, is to always be yourself. And you look at these different people on TV, and everybody might not know who I'm speaking of, but you have your David Saturo or you have your Diane Valentine, and you see them on TV and you think you want to mimic them. I would recommend always be yourself. If you are a quirky person, then you be that quirky person because there are clients out there looking for a quirky person to help them to plan their event that's going to understand them. So try not to be everything to everybody, but be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, give everybody your contact information so they can find you and contact you. They have them come out and hook up this theme party that they are dying to do. And I am hoping that you will come out on the East Coast and set something up like that for us small businesses that need this kind of service.
Well, the easiest way to get in contact with me is you can visit my website. That's MoniqueHogan.com. And my telephone number is 323-247-7789. And I can be emailed at MH, which is my initials, so MH at MoniqueHogan.com. And on that website, you will get to see all of the different ventures that I'm involved in. and I'm right here in the Los Angeles area. I'm opening Event Suite right here in the city of Inglewood, where we are going to welcome 2 new football players. I mean, not football players, but 2 new football teams. So everything is really, really rolling for us, and I'm really excited.
All right, now, right. They are football players now. Don't get it twisted. She got the football. It may not be
Look,
the NFL, but she
we,
got some football players coming up in there. So you know where you need to be at this theme party, right?
that's right. We're going to have an NFL football theme party.
But there you go. There you go. Well, thank you so much. I'm definitely having a
Thank
blast with this
you.
interview today. I can't stress how passionate we are in terms of event planning. I know that I touch a lot on a lot of different things as I hear from all these people, because as an entrepreneur, you do wear a lot of hats and you touch upon a lot of things. And so the takeaway that I would like to stress is, any event you have, even to your small business event where you want people to come out to a workshop or maybe one of your business meetings, it takes a lot of work to plan something and have it go off very effectively and look very professional. And so having somebody like Monique to give you advice on your business, that's what you want to do. And also we have a couple other people who are business event planners on this podcast platform, and you should also check with them as well. So make sure that you tap into all these people that have all these wonderful resources to make sure that your event goes off very good. So Monique, thank you, girlfriend. You got me all hyped up on here, but I really appreciate you coming out here and setting everybody straight.
For having me.
You set me straight. I'm gonna tell you that right now.